Well, today marks 6 years since Hurricane Matthew made landfall on the Carolina coast. We saw record flooding across the region and billions of dollars in damage. 25 people lost their lives in that storm, all but one from flooding. Brittany joins us once again to talk about that historic storm and has a look at the tropics this morning.
Yeah, Matthew was definitely a beast of a storm for only being a Category 1 hurricane, which I think is a good reminder right after what we just saw with Ian. Now, the storm, of course, causing those 25 deaths in North and South Carolina and more across other portions of the country and even other parts of the world. Now, Matthew at its peak intensity was a major hurricane, but made landfall just south of McClellanville, South Carolina, near Cape Romaine, actually very similar to where Ian made landfall this day 6 years ago on October 8th. It was a Category 1 with winds sustained at 85 miles an hour around 11 a.m. Sound familiar? That was actually the same intensity as Ian. The difference is that Matthew skirted the coast, which meant a lot of that heavy rain went inland. Parts there of inland portions of the Myrtle Beach viewing area like Marion, seeing close to 1.5 feet, if not close to 2 feet of rain, and really the worst wind, worst storm surge, and of course the worst rainfall definitely toward the eastern half of the Carolinas. Then it skirted up the coast and eventually went out to sea. Now, thankfully, no storms of that magnitude by any stretch of the imagination in the tropics right now. We have one active storm. This is the one we've been watching for a few days in the Caribbean. It is now Tropical Storm Julia and is expected to make landfall tomorrow as a Category 1 hurricane along the coast of Nicaragua, but continues to move through the central part there of Central America and eventually becomes post-tropical by this time next week. Now, there are some long-term hints that some energy left over from Julia could eventually move into the southern Gulf of Mexico by sometime next week, but we'll be watching that very closely. Other than that, no active systems out in the tropics right now. If we were to get another storm anytime soon, the next name on the list is Carl.
All right, Brittany, thank you. And speaking of storms, still to come on Wake Up Charlotte weekend, the